Hello and welcome to another live event from Force 13 this afternoon or this evening, wherever you are. Obviously, time zones are all different and all that. It is early morning, though, where we have Cyclone Pam, the second strongest storm ever to form in the South Pacific Ocean and the fourth strongest ever in the southern hemisphere as a whole. It's just past the island of, I've forgotten the name of the island now, but it's got Port Vila on it, the capital of Vanuatu, as a 165 mile per hour Category 5 storm. That's on both the Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale and the Australian scale. And it's got an air pressure of 899 millibars. We are also joined by our guest this afternoon, Daniel.
Hello.
His nickname's Waniel.
Yeah.
Those of you who have just joined us, I keep having to tell people what the nickname actually is. And we also have Jason, who will be showing us some screen sharing as ever. Always doing a good job for us when I've got to look at other things and do other things whilst trying to find a screen. But there's a nice image of what's been going on. That was as of 2 p.m. UTC, showing what the current situation looked like with Pam. And Port Vila looks to be getting the worst of it at this time. So we could possibly see significant destruction, I'm afraid, in that area. Let's hope not. But bad conditions, of course, to say the very least. But before we go more into depth with that one, let's have a look now at what else we have active at this time. Of course, there's Pam. There's another view on it. But we also have Cyclone Nathan, a 65 mile per hour tropical storm, Category 2 on the Australian scale, 13.2 degrees south, 145.7 degrees east, still hugging the coast of Australia, delivering heavy rainfall. Not as much as previously, though, I don't think. We also have Cyclone Olwyn, which is also still with us, and still hurricane force winds, just about 75 miles per hour, and it's been weakening. It did peak, believe it or not, as a Category 2 storm on the Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale, with winds of 100 miles per hour sustained, that's 160 kilometers per hour, along the western coast of Australia before beginning to move inland, as it is doing right now. And from my half-trained eye, I would suggest that perhaps it has lost hurricane status now, because it has moved significantly inland, and it will continue to do so in the next few hours and deliver what we would hope to be beneficial rain to Western Australia, including around the Perth area where Jason is, of course. He would be talking, but he's unable to today, but I'm sure he would say that it would be very beneficial indeed, and he looks forward to it. There's the image from his screen right now as well. Daniel, were you going to say something?
Sorry, I just read something saying that Pam's one of the worst natural disasters in the island chain's history of Vanuatu. Would you agree on that?
Well, it certainly has the potential to do so. Of course, not much news has filtered in yet because it still is an ongoing event, but in the coming hours and maybe days, we will begin to find out just the scale of what Cyclone Pam has caused over Vanuatu. But here we also have Tropical Storm Bavi in the Western Pacific. That's intensifying 60 miles per hour now, 985 millibars, and our indications show that it could be a storm for the Philippines in the next few days. I'll get the track map up on that shortly as well. As a matter of fact, I have it with us right now. There it is. This is what the JTWC map says over the next 5 days, predicting it to become a typhoon on the 17th of March, and then continuing towards the west. And, well, can you construct the rest of that track map? Probably into the island of Luzon, maybe. But, of course, it depends a lot at this time whether the storm moves further south or further north. If it moves further north and moves through the Northern Mariana Islands, perhaps it may curve towards the north much sooner, and also that will affect its intensity. But if it does remain south, then obviously, yes, we will probably see some effects occurring in the Philippines. It is at least 5 days away from the current date, so we'll be keeping an eye on that for you over the next few days. Daniel's enjoying a nice brew.
Yeah.
So let's cut right back to, of course, we've got the warnings that are still in effect for Australia as well, for Cyclone Olwyn, still in effect from Carnarvon to Jurien Bay. Those are where the warnings are in effect right now. That might actually need updating, or just loading on my webpage. Oh yes, it's been downgraded now from a Category 2 to a Category 1 on the Australian scale. Those same warnings remain in effect. Cyclone Nathan, warnings were still in effect from Lockhart River to Cape Flattery. That still remains the case. It's a Category 2 on the Australian scale and likely to intensify as it moves out to sea and eventually ending up towards the New Caledonian Islands. Then, of course, you've got Cyclone Pam. Now, warnings in effect here for Vanuatu, a lot of Vanuatu, and the easternmost Loyalty Islands in New Caledonia. Also, New Zealand might want to keep an eye on this as well, because it could deliver some strong winds and heavy rain as an extratropical cyclone in the next few days. Jason's map shows a close-up of what's going on in Vanuatu, Category 5 on both the Australian scale and the Saffir-Simpson Hurricane wind scale. Wind speeds up to 165 miles per hour sustained, 265 kilometers per hour, with gusts possibly exceeding 200 miles per hour or 320 kilometers per hour. So a very strong storm indeed. As I said, the second strongest we've ever seen in the South Pacific Ocean after Zoe in 2002.
Would anyone be interested in seeing the Google Maps display of the storms that are currently affecting Australia?
Sure, if possible.
Okay then.
Oh, Daniel's doing a screen share as well.
Yeah.
All three of us, how about that?
Yeah.
I think that's a first.
Probably. You can see the eye, can't you, there, on Pam?
Yeah,
Yeah.
clearly. What you can also see is the other two storms. Well, actually, three of them just about. You can just about see Bavi at the top of your screen.
Yeah.
Cyclone Nathan on the right-hand side of Australia and Cyclone Olwyn on the western side. Perspective might make Olwyn look a bit smaller than it actually is, but you can still see quite clearly that both Olwyn and Nathan are significantly smaller than Cyclone Pam, and Olwyn will probably be no longer with us very soon as it heads towards the southeast there, overland, and increasing in southerly latitudes as well. Seaside certainly won't be going for it, even if it does reach the other side of Australia.
You were speaking about, on one of the previous episodes, how hurricanes in the northern hemisphere rotate a different way to the southern one.
That's right.
Bavi's currently in the northern hemisphere, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah, so you can clearly see them both rotating different ways.
Very good, Daniel.
Yeah. Just
Yeah,
noticed
getting
that.
better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Daniel's our resident novice here.
Yeah.
Plus 13, but we're training him up. He's learning the ropes pretty quick, you know.
Yeah. It's only taken me about a month or so.
What was the one that we were talking about? Oh yes, you. For some reason, I have no idea how you knew, because I wouldn't have expected you to. But when Pam was 155 miles per hour, you said it was almost Cat 5, and you're right.
Yeah, because I looked it up on Wikipedia.
Oh.
And now I know what it is. It's 157 miles per hour, isn't it? Category 5. Yeah.
Though on the advisories, they don't issue the actual precise number. They usually go with fives and zeros in knots.
Yeah.
Which can be pretty confusing because there are gaps here and there when you're converting knots to miles per hour, for instance.
Yeah.
115 knots is 130 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Whilst 120 knots is 140 miles per hour, but 110 knots is 125. Very confusing.
Yeah.
But leave it up to us to convert all that, viewers. Cyclone Pam, though, we'll just use the 1 or 2 units of measurement that most people are familiar with, miles per hour and kilometers per hour. 165 miles per hour sustained winds. Here's the image from Jason's screen. Oh yes, he's on Wikipedia now as well, showing the strongest storm ever, Cyclone Zoe, which had 890 millibars of air pressure. Though if you look at the actual wind speeds, I was looking at a different page actually that had a Pam on. Oh yeah, there's sorry, I missaw it. Pam actually has a higher 10-minute sustained wind speed than Zoe does, with 155. So if you go by wind speed, then Pam may well take the record. But by air pressure at this time, there's still 9 hectopascals of difference.
I've got a question.
Oh yes.
If a hurricane that's in the northern hemisphere crosses over into the southern hemisphere, will it suddenly... Well, oh no, can't they do that?
No, not
No.
really.
All right. It's because of the way they rotate, isn't it? Yeah.
It's because of the Coriolis effect.
Oh yeah. No, it doesn't matter.
Yes.
I thought that was only when there were 2 hurricanes at the same time.
Oh, that's the Fujiwara effect.
Oh, this is confusing. This. The Fujiwara effect and the what is it?
Coriolis effect.
Ah.
Yes. It is that the world of tropics is confusing, Daniel.
Yeah.
But you'll remember at some point.
Yeah. I think I'm remembering it now.
Very good. But here's the latest image from Jason's screen. You can see the eye still very clearly presented just southeast of Port Vila. And Stephen P. Shaw is wondering where the 899 is coming from. That is the current pressure of the storm, yes. That's according to Fiji. Fiji's, of course, the regionalized, specialized meteorological center, whatever it's called, that give the advisories on the tropical storms. And they are saying that it is 899 millibars of air pressure. When you're showing us the quiet Atlantic, or what?
No, I'm just having a look around at stuff.
Yeah.
Well, these
elsewhere around the world, there isn't much else going on.
No. I've got a question. These clouds here on the USA, are these thunderstorm clouds? No.
Possibly.
Oh, because I like it.
Towards the south a little bit.
Yeah, the dark grey.
I mean, we were talking to our friend in Louisiana not so long ago. There were thunderstorms on that day as well.
Yeah.
You can probably see it more clearly if you look at the radar image. In the meantime, Jason's showing us what Cyclone Bavi looks like, Tropical Storm Bavi, just north of Micronesia and slowly making its way towards Guam. We'll obviously keep you posted on that. I wonder whether we have any warnings in effect for those areas just yet. Let me remind you of what the warnings are in the Western Pacific at the moment. Let me have a look. Yes. Oh, here we are. A typhoon watch is in effect for Guam, Rota, Tinian, and Saipan in the Mariana Islands. So the 4 southernmost islands, including Guam, are under a typhoon watch at this time. And that means that winds of 73 miles per hour or greater is possible within the next 48 hours. I mean, it could end up reaching typhoon status before it does hit Guam, so we could have yet another storm situation going on in the next few days, just days after Pam.
Have you seen that question from Stephen P. Shaw?
Yeah, I did. I just responded to it. Open your ears. Open them.
My ears aren't working very well today.
Clearly not. But there you are. You can see all of those storms located there. Which one looks the least impressive to you?
Me?
I think it's a toss-up between Olwyn and Nathan. Nathan's smaller in size, but appears to be a bit more intense near its centre. Obviously, Olwyn has the handicap of being inland at this point. So,
both look pretty pathetic. Especially Nathan.
Yes, thank you.
I'm only joking.
Yeah.
Sorry. Nothing personal.
Very good. That is my name. I'm still hopeful for Nathan because it's going to intensify when it moves back out over the waters. If it ever gets there, it's been stalling in that area for days now. It must be a pretty boring life. But yes, Cyclone Pam is still what we're looking at predominantly. Category 5 on both scales, affecting Port Vila. We had the webcams for Vanuatu, but the web page for that has gone down. I don't suppose the internet has gone down there as well, perhaps. Maybe even power. I should imagine, actually, because so close to Port Vila, you'd expect there to be some sort of disruption going on. Dow Flordelis has joined us. He says hi. And Stephen P. Shaw says, interesting tidbit, says the island of Tanna, which is the second one below the eye, is the home of Prince Philip, the Prince Philip cult. They believe he is a god.
Oh yeah, I remember reading something like that.
And I need to re-find the name of the island that Port Vila is on, it's called. Because I actually put it in the description of the last video and I'm completely out of my mind. Ifate, I think. I'm not sure how the pronunciation is on there, but E-F-A-T-E. Dowell has just joined us, wants to know what Palm's wind speed and pressure is. Palm has winds of 165 miles per hour, 265 kilometers per hour. Its air pressure, according to Fiji, is 899 millibars. 899. Which would make it the second ever storm to go under 900 millibars in the South Pacific, after, of course, Zoe in 2002, which remains to be the strongest storm ever in the South Pacific Ocean. The fourth, Pam, of course, is the fourth strongest storm, or the fourth most intense storm ever in the southern hemisphere, the whole of the southern hemisphere. That's after Zoe, of course, and two other storms in the southwest Indian Ocean. But not only is Vanuatu under threat at this time, but New Caledonia may also see some effects from the storm. I think we still have the radar imagery up at this time. Yes, there it is. From New Caledonia. Vanuatu, we couldn't actually find a radar for it. I'm not even sure it has one. But me and Jason, I think we fancy ourselves as quite good researchers, and we couldn't find any. But here's the radar imagery out of New Caledonia, showing significant amounts of rainfall occurring just north of the Loyalty Islands, and they are moving ever closer to those islands, and so we'll probably be seeing some rainfall occurring there. Nothing too nasty at this time, but it could get worse than that in the next 24 hours or so, because the storm is expected to make its closest approach, I think around that time, is it? Let me just get the tracking map back up again. Yes, the closest point to the Loyalty Islands, you can see there, around 12 hours time, I'd say. Maybe a bit more, maybe towards 15 hours. So that's when we'll see the worst conditions in New Caledonia. It will also pass Matthew Island, a small uninhabited volcanic island, and then continue towards the southeast, and eventually pass not too far from New Zealand as an transitioning into an extratropical cyclone, I should imagine, at that point, but could still be packing some strong winds, and we reckon it will still be a very deep storm as well. There's oh, Jason's changed his profile image, have you? to the one of Pam. But there's Waniel's imagery, showing Pam. Slightly misleading, because night has clearly fallen over that area now. It's early hours of the morning there.
Yeah. A sea is shown now.
Ah, yes. Very good. But it's better to see it in the daytime. Let me try and find some more satellite imagery to show you. Oh, Jason's found some. Don't know whether you can actually see that, because I can't. I could initially.
I can't see it. Oh, yeah, I can now.
Whilst I just respond to Dowell at this point, who says he would like to be added to the Hangout, please come on Skype so I can send you the link, because I wouldn't want to post a link publicly and have loads of people coming on here.
Bad enough with 5
or 6 or 8
Yeah.
as we had once.
Oh yeah.
This is the imagery showing what the storms look like. I'm guessing it would have been several hours ago when it was still daytime over the South Pacific. I wonder whether Jason could get us a close-up on Pam. So that's the that's some more images of Palm showing how it's been going very close to that island. And obviously on Port Vila we could possibly see winds of nearly Category 5 intensity, who knows? Should imagine so. But yes, the islands further south also could receive very strong winds. The storm could remain a Category 5 for as long as the next 12 hours. Probably not so likely, maybe just around 6. So there's the Earth map as well, showing. Oh yes, there's the center of the storm. Click around, see what the highest wind speeds you can get are. But you can see all 4 systems on there as well, quite clearly. And you can quite clearly tell also that Pam is the largest, followed by, I would say, Tropical Storm Bavi, which is probably the one we're going to be watching out for next. So let me reiterate. Warnings in effect for Vanuatu, extending as far as the easternmost Loyalty Islands. And I don't know whether Dell would like to say anything on our chat or not. But here's the opportunity. I guess not. But there's the storms there. Yes, of course, warnings in effect for Australia as well for the other 2 cyclones, Cyclones Nathan and Cyclone Olwyn. I almost forgot its name then. There's Jason showing us also the JTWC map that we saw earlier, where Cyclone Tropical Storm Bavi could be a typhoon strength storm. And these are the models as well. And correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't those all predicting weakening after Guam? As opposed to strengthening, like what the JTWC is saying at this time. Also on my screen at the moment, you can see what Japan are saying, what the forecast is for there. They're currently saying that the storm is 45 miles per hour, 10-minute sustained winds, and a central pressure of 992 millibars. Expected to strengthen in the next few days, only a little bit actually, to reach a peak on the 14th. So 24 hours from now, the JMA is expecting the peak, so that's around this dot here, before gradual weakening by the looks of things. So I guess you've got 2 differing forecasts occurring there. You can also see here showing the analog tropical storms that Jason just clicked on for a moment. Only one of them is taking the track that we're expecting Tropical Storm Bavi to do. But yes, those are the storms that we're watching at this time. So let me recap. Cyclone, oops, that's the NHC. Won't be using them for a while before the Atlantic hurricane season starts up again in the Pacific, of course. But there's Cyclone Pam, 165 miles per hour winds, 265 kilometers per hour. That's sustained. That's been the case since it passed Port Vila on Vanuatu, the capital. It's likely to affect those islands further down as well, possibly with winds near that peak intensity that it's currently at of 165 miles per hour. 899 millibars. 899. The first storm to drop below 900 millibars in the South Pacific since 2002, and only the second one ever to do so anyway, since Cyclone Zoe, the record setter. There's another image of it. You can also see Cyclone Nathan, 65 miles per hour, 982 millibars. That's near Australia, still hugging the coast, delivering heavy rainfall to that area. And it's likely to begin to move towards the east. We've been saying that for quite a while, but it's still refusing to go yet. Cyclone Olwyn, still holding on officially to hurricane force, 75 miles per hour. But according to Australia, that has dropped down to a Category 1 storm on the Australian scale now as it moves inland. Warnings are in effect. We'll go to them shortly once more to show you. And also Tropical Storm Bavi, 60 miles per hour and intensifying. And so far intensified a little bit quicker than forecasted. For Cyclone Olwyn, warnings in effect from Carnarvon to Jurien Bay, including inland areas such as Murchison Roadhouse, Malewa, and Dalwallinu. I think it's pronounced. I have no idea. I have no idea with these place names. Warnings for Cyclone Nathan extend from Lockhart River to Cape Flattery, including Cape Melville and Cohen, and probably I'm expecting Lizard Island as well, I should imagine. For Cyclone Pam, warnings in effect for most of Vanuatu, particularly in the south and central parts, and also for the easternmost Loyalty Islands of New Caledonia. The watch area extends almost as far as New Zealand, but not quite. And for Cyclone Tropical Storm Bavi, Typhoon Watch in effect for Guam, Rota, Tinian, and Saipan in the Mariana Islands, meaning that winds of typhoon force are possible within the next 48 hours in that area. And they may be issued to warnings if the storm grows stronger in the next 24 hours on its way towards Guam.
Should I get a picture of Cyclone Zoe up on my screen in case anyone's interested?
If you'd like to. We can always compare.
Yeah, it's 2002, wasn't it?
It was indeed.
Yeah. Just bear with me.
Jason's beat you to it, I think. There's a bear with you.
No. Jason's beat me. I don't see. Oh yeah, I can see it now.
You see it there, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I did see it. It's gone now.
No, he's clicked it. We're waiting for it to load.
Oh yeah.
We're greeted by a black screen. Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
That was Cyclone Zoe near peak intensity. I should imagine it was anyway. Slow to load, isn't it?
Certainly, yeah.
I wonder whether I can load it even quicker.
Probably.
Yep.
We should test. We should have a competition so you can load it. Oh yeah, you've done it already.
Sorry, Jason. Oh, it can't be displayed.
Oh dear.
Right here. You can zoom right into the eye. Look at that. Brilliant resolution on that.
Yeah.
Certainly a storm that you wouldn't want to get caught up in.
Unless it's you. You'd like to get caught up in it, wouldn't you?
Well,
So you
only
can
if it's
track it.
safe.
Yeah.
And I think that wasn't too far from Vanuatu either, was it? Cyclone Zoe at its peak intensity. Though of course at this time the cyclone, which one now? Pam is further south, of course, and is a strong, possibly a stronger cyclone. Certainly in terms of wind speed, we believe, but not quite yet in terms of central air pressure, which is 899 millibars compared to 890 from Zoe. And if we take a look at the latest satellite imagery, no visible imagery, I'm afraid, because it's the middle of the night over there. There's Daryl's imagery showing the floater imagery for the cyclone as well. And I just think it's rather uncanny how the storms appears to have stalled slightly whilst it went past those two islands. There's a particular image that makes it look more clear than that. There's Jason's image of what Cyclone Zoe did, Category 5, not too far from Vanuatu, in late December 2002. Dissipated just west of Fiji. This storm obviously much different. So Stephen says the last satellite image shows the eye finally taking a southwestern jog a little too late. And I think, oh, well, you say southwestern. I'm not sure quite how you mean. Oh yes, he said southeastern. After that, he corrected himself. Yes, southeastern at the end there. Let's take a look. Which one? This one, I think, showed it quite clearly. Yeah.
I have an interesting fact about Pam.
Yeah.
I've just uncovered on Wikipedia.
Right.
Apparently, it has the highest 10-minute sustained wind of any South Pacific tropical cyclone.
We already said that.
I can't.
Daniel, come on now.
I need to pay more attention.
Is the satellite loop of Cyclone Pam. I just find it rather uncanny how it seemed to stall for about an hour or so near those two islands. I'm obviously not doing any favours at all to those on those islands, but I think in those last few frames as well, it appears to be losing those black areas just that little bit, meaning it's perhaps a bit on a weakening trend. Maybe it's past its peak, the eye not becoming so well-rounded either. So maybe Pam, well, you'd expect it, to be honest. Pam is on its way down now. It certainly is in terms of latitude, moving towards the south. And you do worry for that next island still, though, where the storm could possibly make its first landfall.
Anything you want me to talk about?
I have no idea. But there's Jason showing us the radar imagery.
Oh, yeah.
That's in what's it called? New Caledonia. losing my rhythm. Forgetting the names of everything. Dowell's showing us another image. This is the floater loop for Cyclone Nathan in the past few hours. Visible there. You can see as the sun set. Thank you, Jason, for telling us what the island names were called. They're called Laramango and Tanna Islands further south, so we could possibly see a landfall on one of those. There's Cyclone Nathan moving ever so slightly to the north, and then may move towards the east in the next few hours. That's certainly what's expected of it.
Doesn't develop tonight, has it?
No, not at this time, by the looks of things. But certainly Pam has.
Yeah. Judging from your screen, it looks quite formidable.
Yeah, I think that's the word for it. I don't think it quite made a landfall on near Port Vila, but the eye certainly, the very edge of the eye perhaps, just about crossed over the most eastern point of that island. And maybe we'll see something similar on the next island as well.
The eye wall's the worst part to get caught up in, isn't it?
Indeed it is.
Yeah.
That's where the most intense part of the storm is. You can see the colour spectrum at the bottom there showing how far away from the strongest part of the spectrum the black to grey parts of the storm is. Very strong indeed in those areas. You certainly don't want to get caught up there. As far as wind speeds are concerned, well, they could be occurring anywhere on the western or perhaps northern side of the storm, where we may be seeing the strongest wind speeds of 165 miles per hour sustained, 265 kilometers per hour. Imagine being caught up in that.
I found some interesting images of the eye wall shot from a plane, I think. Do you want me to load them up?
Is this current image?
I don't think so. It's from the. Let me find what it's. It's from NOAA. What's that?
What?
The NOAA.
Oh,
Is
that's
it?
the American. What is
Oh
it?
yeah.
National.
It's of Hurricane
Oceanic-
Katrina.
Whatever. Hurricane Katrina. I think I know what image you're actually going to show us because.
Can I just have a? Can I just show you it anyway?
Yeah, of course. Because
Okay.
people watching may not have seen it before. I imagine it's
Yeah.
a picture taken from inside the eye of Katrina.
Yeah. You
So
see it?
that's what you may well see inside the eye of Cyclone Pam right now.
Mhm.
It's like you're
How
in a big valley of clouds, I suppose.
how do they keep the plane stable though? Wouldn't the winds be really?
It would be pretty brutal, but they've done it for so many years now that they know what they're doing. The reconnaissance aircraft.
Yeah.
They've only ever lost a handful of missions. One of them being in Hurricane Janet in 1955. So a long time ago.
Yeah.
I think the most recent one might have occurred in the 70s. I'm not entirely sure on that. Jason might be able to help us out with that information.
Yeah.
Because he is a fountain of information, just like we are. Darrell also showing us, what's this now? Oh, that's Tropical Storm Bavi. Slowly progressing towards the west-northwest, towards Guam, where we have a typhoon watch in effect. So there are warnings out everywhere across the Pacific, it seems. Except the Eastern Pacific, I suppose.
We've got some
with the forecast track on it as well, Daniel.
I've got some video footage of flying inside a hurricane. I don't know if anyone wants to see that.
Oh, sure, why not? And after that, we'll summarise what's going on.
Yeah, I'll just get it up on the thing. Just bear with me again.
Jason's showing us one of the images when the storm, I'm guessing, made its closest pass to the island. You can see the eye, very similar size to the island. It would fit right on it, wouldn't it?
Just a sec.
But the eye passing just east. It may actually even be bad news, to be honest, because rather than the calm of the eye crossing over, instead you've got all those high sustained winds and dramatic amounts of rainfall occurring without relent.
Is my screen visible?
I am not sure at this time.
There's a picture of some plane engines currently on the screen. Can you see that?
I saw it before, but I can't see it at this time. I don't know whether
I might have disabled
whether Jason or Dell could tell us whether they can see it or not, but I can't see it on my screen. It does happen quite often for me. Oh, there we are now.
Just a sec.
I can see it now.
Oh, it's just gone off.
Yeah, just before you turned it off, I saw it.
Yeah. I'll just put it back. I'll put it back on again. Just hide.
There it is.
Yeah, I'll play this for you then. Just mute it. It's got some music on it.
Do we know which storm this was?
Let me have a look.
Don't.
Oh no, it says no. It doesn't mention which storm it was.
Right. Okay. Let's get on with it then.
Can you see it now?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. I've turned the music off because it's a bit distracting.
Yeah, sure. So this may be the sort of conditions people may be experiencing in Cyclone Pam right now. There's Dal showing us some imagery of Olwyn as it's been moving inland over Australia. Am I correct in saying that made 3 landfalls in the end? Delivering, for the most part, beneficial rain for Australia, but Daniel's video is playing now, I think.
It's flying through the eye wall and into the eye, I think.
So is this in the eye? I think it may.
Yeah,
well
it's just entered the eye. Yeah.
And generally, the eye can be just a few miles wide, up to maybe around 20 or so.
The eye is the calmest area, isn't it? Yeah.
Generally, at least within a storm.
I mean, for only a few minutes.
Sometimes it can be longer than a few minutes.
Yeah.
Depends on the speed that the storm is moving, to be honest with you. I mean, if you look at those frames there, if Port Vila was placed a few miles towards the east, the eye would have passed over, and the storm appeared to just stall there for a few frames, for around half an hour to an hour, I'd say.
Yeah.
But looking at the satellite image times, it does actually show how the time differences between pictures actually shorten, so it might be a bit of an illusion. But nonetheless, still a very worrisome sight to see the eye pass so close, not only to Port Vila, but to the other islands there as well. Obviously, we won't find out just yet, or maybe for some time, what the complete story of the storm was when it comes to human costs and monetary losses in Vanuatu. But I should imagine that it may well, unfortunately, be a fatal storm. Quite possibly. Let's hope not. There's Jason's imagery showing all 4 cyclones active right now. Cyclone Olwyn on your left-hand side over Australia, Cyclone Nathan near the far north of Queensland, Cyclone Pam, of course, over Vanuatu, and Tropical Storm Bavi, which is intensifying and is on the approach to Guam, where we have typhoon watches in effect at this time. Current time here in the UK is 3:41 p.m. The time in Vanuatu, I believe, is 2:41 a.m. And in Australia, it's around an hour or two earlier than that. So thanks for staying up late for us, Jason.
Thanks.
Not like we never do that.
Yeah.
Let me reiterate all the warnings that are in effect if you've just joined us. In Australia, there are warnings for Carnarvon to Jurien Bay. It's a Category 1 storm on the Australian scale, Olwyn. It made landfall, a third landfall as a Category 2 on the Australian scale. I think it was a third landfall. And is expected to move towards Perth and probably lose cyclone status just before it gets there. For Cyclone Nathan, warnings remain in effect from Lockhart River to Cape Flattery, including Cape Melville and Cohen near the centre. It's a Category 2 storm on the Australian scale and likely to intensify over the next few days as it moves towards the east. It's been stalled for some time now. You can see its positions where it was on March the 10th, March the 11th, and how it's just slowed down day by day. And we expect it will finally get on the move again in the next 12 to 24 hours. Of course, with Cyclone Pam right now, warnings remain in effect, obviously, for Vanuatu, most of those islands. Same too for the easternmost Loyalty Islands in New Caledonia. New Zealand may also end up in the watch zone in the next few days. We'll see about that. It will probably turn extratropical before it gets there, though. And finally in Guam, from Guam actually, National Weather Service issuing these warnings. Tropical Storm Bavi moving towards the Mariana Islands. Typhoon watch in effect for Guam, Rota, Tinian and Saipan. Rota and Tinian are the islands in between Guam and Saipan in the Mariana Islands. We could see typhoon conditions there in the next 48 hours. Stephen P. Shaw says Eromanga has a population of 2,000 with 350 houses. Most are poorly constructed and won't withstand Category 5 conditions. And if you live in a poorly constructed building and see this coming towards you, well, what do you do?
What would you recommend?
What would I recommend? I'd recommend you get out of there.
Yeah. Is an open field a bad place to be during a hurricane? Obviously, with all that thunder.
I'd say so, Daniel. Yeah, an open field is probably one of the worst places you could be.
Yeah.
You really want to get under shelter, I'd say.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking of thunder or anything or lightning.
Sturdy shelter, if possible.
Yeah.
But the worst thing about being out in the open, I'd say, is the real threat of being hit with a flying object.
Yeah.
If you've got sustained winds of 165 miles per hour blowing through, and you're not in a sturdy building, other buildings that may get destroyed or damaged will then have loose articles flying around, and people who don't secure their buildings properly may secure things down, may have loose objects flying around, and it's frightening. You could get hit with something that flying at 165 miles per hour. You're not going to stand a chance, are you?
No.
There's some iconic pictures of planks of wood that have flown right through palm trees.
Mm. Scary when you think of it.
I think we showed one of those in one of our first updates.
Oh yeah, because when you think of a palm tree, it's quite thick, isn't it?
I suppose so. Well, any tree, really.
Yeah. And better be impaled by something.
Yeah, and it could quite easily happen to you.
Yeah. Not nice.
So, I'm not sure exactly where you'd evacuate to if you had to on one of those islands. You'd probably have to take a boat to New Caledonia or Fiji, I guess.
Would a cellar be a good idea?
Probably. Well, I wouldn't think about that really, because if the wind doesn't get you, the flooding will.
Yeah. Lots of rain.
Yeah, and Stephen also provides some information saying Tanna has a population of 29,000. These two islands will be raked over and fare worse than Ifate, I believe. I'm not entirely sure on that. You look at that island, Ifate, where Port Vila is, and the storm appears to be slowly weakening gradually. It still will be strong when it makes landfall, no doubt about it. It will at least be a strong Category 4, maybe still holding on to Category 5 by then. But I don't know. The way it's going, it might just pass ever so slightly east of those two islands. Obviously, the initial island, I don't know which order they come in, whether Erromango is the one just south there, or whether it's Tanna, but whichever one it is obviously going to fare the worst, especially if the storm makes a direct landfall. The one behind it may not fare quite as bad, but we'll still see pretty bad conditions occurring there, I should imagine. Certainly life and property at risk, obviously. But that's Cyclone Pam. Wind speeds 165 miles per hour, 265 kilometers per hour, gusting to 200 miles per hour or higher. That's 320 kilometers per hour, with an air pressure, a central air pressure in the storm, according to Fiji, of 899 millibars. That's right, 899. The second strongest storm ever in the South Pacific Ocean, and the fourth strongest storm ever in the southern hemisphere.
I'm just looking for any information.
Indeed, here's one particular image from Jason, showing the storm and its closest approach to Port Vila. Luckily, it appears that Port Vila is on the western side of that island, so hopefully it's not quite as bad. But that white area near the very centre of the storm shows what may well be the worst part of the eye wall, just offshore. And there we are. Erromango Island is just south, so that is the first storm that will get hit by the storm in the next few hours, possibly. I mean, the way the satellite loop is going, how long do we reckon it will be? About 2 or 3 hours, maybe, maximum.
How long's Pam been going for then? Nearly a week.
Haven't you been alive this past week?
Yes, I have. I felt. Yes, I've been alive.
You've been on our live updates throughout the storm.
I'm not too good at keeping track.
Right.
Why
are you storm tracking with us then?
I'm trying to think. It's been a week, hasn't it? Yeah.
Around March the 6th, I think.
Yeah.
According to Darrell, anyway.
I knew it had been a week.
All right.
I was just quite sure.
It will also be with us for, I would imagine, around 2 days before it turns post-tropical.
Mm.
So Port Vila seems to have seen the worst of the storm now. Who knows what the damage is like there? Whether it's hopefully they've prepared as well as they can and not too much has happened. But the way, I mean, yeah, the construction quality is probably better there than it is on the islands further south. Erromango is the next to be hit, marked in the pink outline, followed by the one further south, Tanna Island. Erromango has a population of 2,000. Tanna has a population of 29,000. At least on Erromango, I'm not sure about Tanna. The buildings there are poorly constructed for the most part. I remember once, I think it was in Guam, it might have been another island though, in the Western Pacific back in the 60s, I think. Might have been Karen actually, where a particular typhoon went over the island as a very strong Category 5 storm and destroyed over 95% of all buildings. And it's been replicated in a few other places as well. Whenever a really strong storm affects an area, Category 5 strength, quite often there's nothing left. Hurricane Camille in 1969 was another example of extraordinary damage near the coastline when it struck the Gulf Coast. And those are just two examples, there are many more. But Daniel, what would you like to say apart from your awful jokes on the chat?
Nothing much.
Right.
Not at the moment. I think I've produced all my information so far.
Okay, then fine.
Gathered.
Well, we're only on air for 9 more minutes on this hour-long update, so I hope everyone watching at home has enjoyed it so far, or find it informative at least. I'm not sure whether you can enjoy a Category 5 landfall. But before we do finish, we do. Could you? I'm losing all track of my words. If you would like to ask us a question, you can do so by sending us a message on our comments page on this YouTube video as we speak, and we can respond to you on air at any time, just as we have done with Stephen, one of our, I suppose you could call him a correspondent because he's so active. And looking at the we were looking at the radar imagery there. Jason reports heavy rain in Perth. Very good. Thunderstorms. I wish I was there.
Did Daryl try to show us something?
I am not sure. But yes, Jason's reported it. Thunderstorms in Australia, in Perth. Excellent, I think. Jason likes it anyway, because I believe all the rainfall there is beneficial in Perth. But we'll keep an eye on that. I don't know whether you could film any of it, Jason, whilst you're there, and show us some more video later on. That's a challenge for you.
Or you could even upload it to Force 13 Extra, couldn't you? Couldn't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
If you'd like to join the Force 13 team, by default you have access to our new channel, Force 13 Extra. And those of you watching at home, Force 13 Extra is our new offshoot channel, I suppose you could call it, where all of us here on our team can upload videos as and when they feel, whether that storm updates or weather updates where they live. So make sure you subscribe to that as well. Not too many videos on there just yet. It's also the new home of Force 13 game shows as well in the future. Obviously when this storm dissipates, I think, well, when the current storm situation, because there are many storms of course, dies down, we might run a little game show going on. But in the meantime, here's Jason's radar imagery of, where's that from? Serpentine, near Perth. Showing rain approaching some rain towards the south as well. And where's this? This is from Geraldton, further north. So you can see what appears to be a band extending southwards from further north over there. Not too much rain has fallen yet in Geraldton, just 2 millimeters is that. Wind speed is only 7 kilometers per hour, so not too much doing just yet there. Slightly windier down in Minganyu, or Minjanoo, not sure how to pronounce that. 28 kilometers per hour down there, 31 kilometers per hour on North Island, with 5 millimeters of rainfall reported there since 9 AM. And it's early in the morning in Australia at this point, so I'm guessing that's in around an 18-hour period or so. Here in the UK, it's 5 to 4 in the afternoon, and we'll be running more updates later on this evening as well, as and when they're required. Quite often we do updates at either 8:30 PM or 2:30 AM UTC. Time in the UK is the same as UTC, which is the international time that all the storms go by anyway. Midnight in Perth. Of course, it gets a bit confusing for us later on because our clocks go forward towards the end of the month, so we end up going 1 hour in front of UTC. There's Dowell showing us the last image from yesterday, or not yesterday, but daylight hours over Cyclone Pam, and that was before it went on its assault of Port Vila. And that's the satellite imagery loop. Evelyn Pamela asks me, do you think that if this year's El Nino had been strong, Cyclone Pam would not be this strong? I'm not entirely sure on that one. I mean, let's try and figure out why Cyclone Pam became so strong. The models predict it from the very start, to their credit. Sea surface temperatures were very warm, wind shear was low, dry air was a little bit of a feature near the start, was it? Or was that a different storm? I don't even remember anymore. But I'll have to do some research on that, Evelyn, to see whether or not the conditions would have had, the El Nino conditions would have had any real effect on whether this storm would have formed or not. There's Dowell's image of the storm. Is that current? How long ago was that? Oh, that was at 3 PM UTC, so that wasn't so long ago. You can see the ATCF information showing 914 millibars. That's what they always show, depending on the strength of the storm. In actuality, Fiji say, the official people who give advisories in that area say that the storm is 899 millibars, winds of 165 miles per hour. Looking once again at the radar imagery from New Caledonia on Jason's screen, you can see more rainfall filtering into that area. Obviously, it's near the edge of the radar there, so it is quite possible that there is more rainfall in those areas than what you're actually seeing on the map there. But the satellite imagery doesn't lie. What appears to be very bad conditions on its way, very close now to the islands further south. Erromango is first of all going to get hit, possibly with Category 5 force conditions, maybe even a landfall there before it moves onto the more southerly island of Tanna. And both islands may see very bad conditions indeed. Don't want to sound an alarm or anything, but quite possibly we could see total destruction in some areas. Jerome Laos says, yeah, heavy storm there. I'm not sure whether he's referring to Pam or whether he's referring to something else. Or she. Is that he or she? I don't know. No idea. But in any case, let me just quickly summarize what storms we have active right now before we go off air at this time. Cyclone Pam, 165 miles per hour winds. There's probably a new image of this now. That's 265 kilometers per hour. And as you can see on this latest image, it appears to have moved further south rather than east, which is rather interesting. In between Port Vila and Erromango now. And then it's expected to move further south and then towards the southeast. And I suppose this southwestward jog, according to this latest image, perhaps is bad news for the easternmost part of New Caledonia. But that's Cyclone Pam, very destructive storm. Cyclone Nathan is a 65 miles per hour Category 2 storm on the Australian wind scale. It's affecting the eastern coast of Queensland. Warnings in effect there. Cyclone Olwyn is just about holding on to Category 1 hurricane intensity on the Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale, but it's probably lost that now because that data is slightly old. In Australia, it's a Category 1 storm on the Australian scale and is certainly weakening at this time. Headed for Perth, where we've already got rainfall occurring according to Jason, where he is. Tropical Storm Bavi, 60 mile per hour tropical storm. Typhoon watches are in effect for Guam, extending as north as Saipan at this time as well. So this one could be a typhoon very soon. Could also be a threat to the Philippines. Warnings in effect then. Carnarvon to Jurien Bay, still warnings in effect for those areas from Cyclone Olwyn, including inland areas, Murchison Roadhouse, and Malawa, but the warnings have just actually changed now. So now they extend from Overlander to Jurien Bay, including those inland areas. For Cyclone Nathan, warnings still extend from Lockhart River to Cape Flattery. That still remains the case. Still a Category 2 storm on the Australian scale, likely to intensify as it moves towards the east. With Cyclone Pam, warnings in effect for the whole of Vanuatu under a warning zone. Same too for the most eastern part of the Loyalty Islands of New Caledonia. Also Matthew Island as well, much further towards the southeast. The watch zone almost reaches New Zealand, but not quite. New Zealand may see the extratropical storm remnants of this cyclone. I don't say remnants really because it's still going to be a rather strong storm, quite possibly a deep extratropical low as it turns post-tropical in around 3 days' time near New Zealand. And as I already said, a typhoon watch in effect for Guam, Rota, Tinian, and Saipan. There's the view from where Daryl lives, apparently. Sun seems to be setting there, unless it's rising.
Where does Daryl live? Do you know?
Was it somewhere in Europe? I'm not sure. But Sharon Laos says, yeah, an unusual storm developed, which has potential to become a typhoon heading towards the Philippines. Yes, that's Bavi. Predicting possibly typhoon when it does reach the Philippines. Quite possibly reaching the Philippines in around 5 or 6 days' time. The time here in the UK is 3 minutes past 4. We're finishing up now, so thanks everyone for participating. Not only people at home commenting on this video for me to reply to, but also everyone here on this chat room as well. So let me say goodbye now to Daniel. Hello. Goodbye.
Hello.
Hope you enjoyed being a presenter once more.
Yeah. Is everybody saying goodbye now then?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
The absent presenter.
Goodbye.
Yeah, we need a nickname for you. Daryl, thanks for joining us. Jason, oh goodness, forgetting my place names. Perth, Australia. How can you forget that? Jason, thanks for joining us. Hope you get the rain that you need and desire. And yeah, try and get some raw footage for us. We'd love to see it, or just maybe a picture or two. And thanks to Stephen saying thanks guys, great updates, and also to Keishim saying thanks guys, nice work. Thank you very much for watching us, and thanks for the support. We'll be having another live update quite possibly this evening. We'll see about it. But if not, we will have video updates recorded throughout the evening on Force 13. You can also follow us on our social mediums. Search Force 13 on Facebook, at Force 13 on Twitter, and of course on YouTube. We'll all be having videos throughout the evening on Force 13. I've knocked my lead out. That's embarrassing, isn't it? I can't even hear anything that's going on right now. Oh well, I won't even plug it in. But thank you everyone for watching. We'll be back another time soon. Goodbye.